to this sailing of SAA. As a transform RSA, we are resolute on the issues regarding the mismanagement of finances, capital, as well as the asset, which is a state asset, which belongs to the people of South Africa.
Chris, you wanted to come in here?
Yes, I think also just to add that the people that are responsible, we have identified that obviously the board is responsible. There are some monies that, you know, they're supposed to give authorization for over 50 million bucks, as Dingy said. They're supposed to be giving approval of it. They haven't. There's a lot of other contracts that have been signed where we as saga saw those reports. I'm sure everybody has seen those reports, amounting to close to 1.8 billion. Somebody has to be responsible. Now, what do we do? What we're supposed to do now is, as SACA is doing, open up criminal charges against these people, because they cannot just be let go. You cannot say to them, you know, leave. It's okay. You're not performing. Just go. Over $1 billion is gone. It's okay. Go home. No, they have to be legally held responsible. That's where we start, and then moving forward. You know.
I think just also to simplify for the benefit of our viewers, where the money is going every single day is the fact that SAA doesn't even have its own spare parts or inventory. All of that was sold off, and then another opportunity was created for AAR, an American aviation company, to essentially sell spare parts.
Well, if you look at the whole report,
is that how it works?
It shows all of those irregularities. For instance, the simulator, they recommend ELS that SAA should have bought the simulator instead of leasing it, because they can benefit from software upgrades later on. They don't have to pay excess amounts
It's another classical case of rent seeking. You have people within SAA who are deliberately milking the airline, who are making obscene amounts of profit and money. And some of them happen to be known politicians. These are not known names. I mean, you have Braid, you have Macquarie's, you have the likes of the Bidfest, who are operators of some of the airlines, you have the likes of the big, companies in South Africa that are making money out of these things. And then you have these multinationals that are doing all sorts of contracts. Why do we have to have an SAA in South Africa sell off its planes and then lease it back from somebody else? It doesn't make sense. I mean, the airline should have its own fleet of flights of airplanes, so that it is used on its balance sheet as part of an asset rather than something that they have to continuously keep paying towards.
Yeah, Mr. Imam, sorry, Edward. Just looking at Bain and Company, they were the previous contractor or consultants to SAA when Coleman Andrews was the CEO. He was the president of Bain and Company, conflict of interest noted there. And then was subsequently also awarded another contract to merge SAA and SA Express at a tune of 10 million rand. How can this happen with all the oversight committees we have in Parliament?
Well, you know, let me start off by making this point, that we will oppose any attempt to privatize South African Airways. That you can be rest assured that we in Parliament will oppose that. We are not in agreement with that, so those who have those intentions of wanting to do that, we will not give up, I can assure you that. Now, again, it comes back to exactly the same thing. Where does Treasury fit in? Where does the Public Finance Management Act fit in? How do they allow these things? How do they allow these conflicts of interest? How do they allow contracts to the tune of such large amounts to be entered into without following the correct processes and procedures? Why did they allow it? Because even before SA was put under administration, it was still Treasury's responsibility. It is the baby of Treasury. We should have seen that the Management Act has been complied with. So clearly, you know, I think what is very, very important, we must remember here, did we want to find a solution to the problem? Do we want South African Airways to be a successful entity or not? That is the point. I think that's the fundamental point we need to look at. And clearly it all points to one direction, that let's fail South African Airways, irrespective of what processes and procedures fall, even though we will breach every Public Finance Management Act rules and regulations, as long as we can achieve what? And that is to privatize South African Airways. That is what it is all about. Now, when the former Minister Pravin Gordhan indicated that they were in talks to try and merge the both South African Express, and that he also went on to talk about bringing in private funders. And some of us had actually opposed it and said it was totally unnecessary. But remember, when you're in a position of strength, you will ignore all the suggestions and recommendations by anybody if you have made up your mind this is exactly what you have wanted. And this is what we can see clearly that is happening here. So, you know, in a nutshell, it would appear that the division that exists in SA in terms of its management and from Treasury, clearly there's a conflict of interest, and that conflict of interest is to try and privatize South African Airways. So there's no intention whatsoever to find a solution, because let's come back to one very, very important point. Why is it understood that as long as it belongs to the state, it will not make profit? But the moment we convert it to private, it will make money. And I think your previous guests have also mentioned, all over the world, the smallest countries and the airlines are all making money. South African Airways is the only one that's not making money. So again, we come back to the same thing, and I think what must happen, we need to look at this very, very seriously and deal with them. And I think it's a matter for the public protector to come in. Really, I think it is a matter for the public protector to come in and intervene in this matter, and whoever are responsible must be criminally held liable for it.
Maybe from the union's point of view, I'll come back to the same question. You know, we've established now that there's a role at SAA, the role players. What would you like to see happen from now on from the union's point of view?
Look, we've done almost everything with management of SAA, the board, in terms of requesting meetings, including the treasurer. We did not get any joy. Now, that on its own shows that there's no interest in listening to what workers are saying, because at the end of the day, we know that the workers will suffer the most because there will be retrenchment that is coming in. Over and above, Sata even went to the offices of public protector. I think it was around about February. We lost a case with the public protector to make sure that they go and investigate thoroughly these allegations and make sure that they understand why the board of SAA, including management, don't implement these cost-saving measures that have been recommended by these forensic audits in Akonda.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. This is, of course, the prelude to much more to come. At the moment, we're looking at two glaring maladministration, wasteful expenditure, and irregularities when it comes to contracts at our national carrier. Our panelists be having consensus that this is a greater conspiracy to privatize the national asset. And we heard from the National Freedom Party saying they will do everything they can to oppose this move, because it cannot be that a national asset sits in private hands. But we'll continue with our investigation, and thanks again for joining us on our special broadcast.
Cheers.